Welcome to the Deal by Me podcast, where we ask guests to tell us your story. Hello there, this is Dr. James W. Smith, your host. We seek to transform lives by encouraging and inspiring. Somewhat encouraged and inspired this host, a former lawyer, gambler, inmate, and his life was transformed. The same can happen to you. When you listen to any of the Deal by Me podcasts, please support this podcast with a donation or a monthly recurring amount for as little as $3. If you're viewing any of the podcasts on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. To supporters of this podcast, we say thank you. Check out my encouraging, inspiring, and transforming books. I'm available for speaking engagements, in person and virtual seminars. So please contact me through my website, www.dealbyme.com. I have with me Stephen Lagomasino, and he will correct me if I'm pronouncing that incorrect, who imparts valuable insights, experiences, and expertise contributing to transformative changes in listeners' lives. His story goes beyond personal wealth and success. It is about motivating and enabling others to realize their full potential. I am very elated to have Stephens come and share with listeners of this podcast today. Stephens, would you share with listeners a little bit about yourself and where you are being interviewed from?
Sure. First, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today. A couple things about myself. First, I'm interviewing from Boca Raton, Florida. I'm in sunny South Florida. Moved here 2 years ago. Currently, I'm a president and owner of TRC Electronics, which is an electronic wholesale distributor. We've had a lot of success in this business. And in addition to that, I also am a leadership mentor and coach. I run a really elite leadership program with an organization called Cardone Ventures. And I'm also a business advisor and a podcast host. So I've taken all my entrepreneurial success and I'm using that success and that wisdom that I gained and driving impact through other outlets where I can, my goal is to change the trajectory of as many people's lives as possible. And I've been doing that successfully in my business, but also I wanted to find ways to do that outside of my business. So I've been finding all these different avenues to be able to accomplish that.
Wow. Stephen, would you pronounce the last name for
Sure.
listeners? And I got it halfway correct.
Well, I'll tell you what, you got it. I'd say 99.9% correct.
Okay.
So it's Lagomarsino. My name is
Okay.
Stephen.
Lagomarsino. Okay. I thought was halfway right. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I've looked at your profile and your bio. Very, very impressive. You've done a lot in your life, and you're trying to help folk along the way, and that's a real notable thing to do. But sometimes when we, are in so many things, we find it hard to kind of balance things out. So, what is work-life balance to you? What is that? What does that kind of entail?
Well, that's a great question. I love this question. So I don't believe in work-life balance. So I think that with the way I look at it is not creating balance in my life.
Okay.
With the way I approach it is how can I align the work with the life that I want?
Oh, okay.
Right.
Makes
So
sense.
yeah, so because a lot of people like they look as work as a bad thing and they don't want to do too much of it because they need to balance it more with the good thing, which is anything but work.
Mhm.
And for me, in my journey, what I've been able to successfully accomplish for myself is understand where I wanted to go, what kind of goals do I want to accomplish in life, what changes do I want to make in this world and in my life, my family's life. What is my true purpose? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? And then I work on aligning all the work with those goals, those targets, those purposes, the vision of where I want to be in the future, the impact I want to drive. And then it becomes less about balance and more becomes about alignment in my life. And
Oh,
you have like these professional goals, you have these financial goals, you have personal goals, family goals, and it just all needs to be properly aligned because they all are interdependent of one another, and you just have to get it aligned properly.
I like that. That's very, very interesting because I just saw you doing so much, and I kind of come from that school of talking about balance, and to hear you share it in another way is very interesting and very intriguing to me. And I know will be and listeners of this podcast will probably feel the same way. So thank you for kind of sharing that in that light because that really says a lot. You obviously you've done well.
Mhm,
And from reading your profile and your bio, things that you've done is exciting. Uh, and you've lived this life of abundance, it
mhm.
seemed, from just looking and reading your profile.
Yes.
So tell us, what are the critical components to living a life of abundance? A lot of people want to know that,
Right.
a lot of people want to do a whole lot of things, but to be able to tell us what these components to living a life of abundance are would be very helpful.
Right. Well, it really starts with a mindset. So many successful people their journey was not easy. And
Okay.
maybe their starting point was not good. I mean, 30 years ago, I was crawled up in a ball, depressed, like felt helpless, felt like I couldn't accomplish anything in my life, and I was able to overcome that. How do you get from where you are to where you want to be and feel like you're living a life of abundance?
Mm,
Well, first, yeah, number one, it starts with a abundance mindset because a lot of us are programmed to have more of a scarcity mindset where there's limitations and they feel okay, I can't have this, there's not enough. There's an abundance of opportunities in this world, there's an abundance of love in this world, there's an abundance of amazing people in this world, there's abundance of money in this world. And
mhm,
if you think of it, if you're just thinking of limitations and scarcity, you're never going to be able to accomplish it. So you have to understand that there's just so
mm.
much out there.
Wow.
And
Wow.
how do you get your piece? How do you go
Uh-huh.
after that, right? And
Mhm,
it really comes down to how are you going to add value to the world, to people. And in order to do that, you've got to develop as an individual, as a person, in all different aspects of your life so that you're adding more value to this world because what you put out in this world will come back to you. But if you have a mind of limitation and like you already think that, I can't have this and there's not that much and it's limited and I'm a victim and all this, you're never going to get there.
mm. Well said. Well said. I note in your profile you also mentioned, and I quote what you said is that my narrative transcends mere financial success.
Right.
It's a story of inspiration and empowerment
Yeah.
aimed at unlocking the full potentials of others.
Mhm.
So I want to ask you, what does empowerment mean to you? Because you mentioned it in just that statement that I read. And how do you empower yourself, and how do you empower others? Talk about that a little bit, because
Yeah.
people who are out here and listening to this podcast, a lot of the people who listen to my podcast are really about wanting to be encouraged and wanting to be inspired and what have you. So, could you share a little bit about that empowerment?
Right.
What does that mean?
So everything in life is a choice. Wherever we are, it's a result all the choices that we've made in life. So we get to choose on how we view things. the glass is half full, the glass is half empty.
Mhm.
We get to choose on the decisions we make, the directions we go in life, the people that we surround ourselves with, whether we are going to choose to, what are we going to do with our time? Are we going to waste our time and spend it on things that are not going to add value and bring us closer to our goals? Or are we going to invest the time where we're going to get true value on it and we're going to actually bring us closer to our goals? Um, so there's just, in terms of empowering yourself, you're never a victim. Everything happens because of you. Nothing happens to you in life. You have to go through life with that mindset all the time. No matter what happens, I got to take full responsibility for it, because if I don't do that, I'm losing the power of what's happening in my life. But if I assume responsibility for everything, and I take full responsibility for anything that happened in my life, there's always something, an aspect that you take responsibility. It really starts there, as opposed to, well, hey, I deserve this. That should have happened to me. It's not fair. Oh, why me? Like that kind of talk. If you have that kind of mindset, and if you're around the people that are going to encourage that kind of thought process and that type of thinking, you're never going to be able to empower yourself. Now, and then how do you empower other people? Well, if you're leading in an organization, it's about seeing a vision of them that they may not see yet. Like, anybody can accomplish practically anything in this world if they really truly want to do it and are willing to make the sacrifices necessary to be able to do that. If someone has a goal, I'll just ask them, well, what are you willing to give up in your life that you currently have right now to accomplish that goal? And I can tell you right there will determine whether or not they're going to most likely accomplish that goal, because, oh, I can't give up this, I can't give up that, I don't want to sacrifice this. Well, then you got to take something out of your life to add something into your life. Right. So when you want to empower individuals, hey, I'm going to be able to see, you have a vision in a company where it's going to be, but when you're leading individuals, I need to see a bigger, better version, more powerful version of the people I lead than they're even capable of seeing. And then I inspire them by sharing that with them and talking about that with them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to empower you with opportunities, instead of, I'm not going to, when I'm assigning new responsibilities, I'm not just dumping stuff off on them. I'm aligning the new responsibilities with the bigger version that they have capable of themselves, but also their professional goals so that they can get there. So you empower them, you have confidence in them, and I believe in them. I see what their potential is. And then finally, another way you empower people is you set a great example. Everyone's always watching. People are always watching. And especially if you're a leader, they're watching everything you do. And the best thing you could possibly do as a leader is set the best example of what's possible. Do things that seem impossible. But personally, professionally, financially, in all aspects of life. Like, when you doing something and you feel, hey, this is going to scare me, this is just a reason to do it, because now you're going to show them, hey, wow, this is something that Steve was really uncomfortable with. He wasn't really, like, he was a little scared about that, but he went and did it and he accomplished it. Like, okay, this is a great example. Now that motivates me to do something out of my comfort zone.
Well, you're talking to me now. You're giving me motivation here. And it's exciting. I'm really just thrilled to talk to you, because your accomplishments and what you've done, I think, would truly help listeners of this podcast who may be looking to do something on another path or whatever it is, to kind of get over that little fear they may have. I've had a mentor, and matter of fact, he just passed, and I do know how important that is, and how empowering yourself and empowering somebody else, can be. And I kind of related to as a mentor, and I was reading something also that made me think of that when you talked about, as the influential president of TRC Electronics, that you have elevated the company to a leading position in the power electronic distribution sector, which to me was saying that you were kind of a mentor to a lot of these other folk. Am I basically saying that correct?
Sure.
Okay.
When you're leading, you're going to coach and mentor other people.
Yeah.
Um, and then very importantly, I need to go outside my organization and get mentorship and coaching from other people that are qualified
Okay.
accomplish what I want to accomplish, or they've got the credibility that's needed to be able to coach and mentor me.
Okay. So then what qualities do you believe make a great mentor? And how do you cultivate those qualities in yourself?
Yeah. All right. This is a really great question. Because it's so important. Because if you want to move faster in life, become more successful, happier, more fulfilled, you're going to do that so much faster and more successfully if you have mentors in your life.
Okay.
And one thing that people misunderstand about mentors don't always have to be in your life. You can actually be mentored from somebody, but you don't actually yet have a personal connection with them. They may not even know you exist. You know, it could be somebody so in order for that to be possible, they need to have transparency into their life. They need to have information that's available for you to be able to learn from. Secondly, they need to be qualified to be a mentor. And well, have they accomplished an aspect of life that I'm looking to accomplish? Is that somebody that has done something successfully that I'm looking to do?
Mm.
Well, that doesn't have to be their entire life. It might be like a particular skill. But the more well-rounded it is, the more effective it's going to be. So that's part of it. And you need to be able to be led and to be coachable. And if you're not going to be coachable and actually, actually learn and apply it, it's not going to really work. And for me, I've been successful to bring these mentors into my life because I put so much out there in this world that I attracted them into my life, where now people who I never thought I would ever meet, for me, my mentors are and all of these people I've met and have relationships with: Sharon Lecter, John Maxwell, Grant Cardone, Brandon Dawson. These are all people who I was able to bring them into my life. So, we have limited beliefs, and we'll think, oh, we'll never be able to find this person and bring this person into my life, but it's all possible.
So how elaborate a little bit more on that, because what are you doing primarily to bring them into your life? Is by what you see or what you're doing? Just elaborate a little bit more on that for us.
Yeah, you'll attract more into your life of what you put out there into this world.
Okay, okay,
So,
okay.
and if you're learning and you're applying properly and you're putting it out into the world, you're going to put yourself in play, and
Oh,
you're going to earn opportunities. Like, for instance, Sharon Lecter, I spoke at an event. I was brought up on stage, spoke at an event, and maybe just 5-10 minutes,
mhm.
got off stage. She comes up to me and introduces herself to me, and she asked me to come on her podcast.
Okay.
She was at the event. Um,
Hmm.
but she heard herself in me speaking.
Hmm.
She knew it. She could tell that I'm learning, and here I am setting an example of actually using the knowledge and material. And I'm not self-serving. I'm out there to help other people. I know mine will come back to me at the end. I don't need to be concerned about that. My first
Hmm.
concern is taking care of myself so that I can help as many people as possible and
Yeah.
drive impact. And so they see the authenticity, you being genuine, and that makes a big difference.
Okay, that makes sense. And I hear that very, very well. Stephen, I pastored for years, just retired at the end of 22.
Right.
And of course, about 6 months out after retiring, my home church called me to serve them as an interim until they got a pastor.
Mhm.
Pastor died abruptly. So I'm doing that now. But when I first retired, I wanted to start a podcast that would be hopefully encouraging, inspiring, and transforming because of what I went through, I knew that was very helpful to me. And so I thought it would be helpful to others. And so
Right.
my question to you is there are people out there who are actually struggling.
Mhm.
Uh, they want to make a turn for the better.
Mhm.
They, I, I think they really want to do it, but they don't know quite what to do, how to do it, or what have you. What would you say to them that will be encouraging, inspiring, transforming, maybe transforming to them? Is there words you would give them?
Yeah. First, because I've been in that situation before,
Okay.
sounds like you have also, and it's okay. Like it's not the end of the world. Like there is a way up.
Hmm.
No matter whenever we all have rock bottoms and they're different for everyone in life, but sometimes when we're in that moment, it feels so hopeless
Hmm.
and so desperate and so sad. I understand what that feeling is like. But the great news is that there is a way out of it. So that's the first thing to understand that is that there is a lot of hope and it is in your control no matter how bad the situation or how like stuck you feel, whatever that's like, there is a way. There definitely is.
Hmm.
And okay, what is things have to change. So if I'm not satisfied or happy with things that are my situation in my life, I need to change. I know that it starts with me. So the first thing is I have to stop focusing on everything that's out of my control. And the one thing I know I have the most control over is me. And you need to start there. And now, what are the choices I need to start making that are different? I need to make different decisions, take different choices,
Hmm.
and I need to start working on myself. And how am I being influenced? Like, where am I hearing the right messages? Am I getting inspired? Or
Hmm.
am I getting like, hey, you're stuck, negativity in my life? Where am I getting that from? And that's different for everybody.
Hmm.
So the great news is anything's possible.
Hmm.
I mean, so many super happy, successful people started with nothing, zero,
Hmm.
and were able to become super successful because you only fail if you quit. If you never quit, you can never fail. And no matter what journey you're on, everyone's journey, there's setbacks. There's big disappointments. There's things that happen that you just could have never expected, and they're really not convenient for everybody. But the only people who fail are the ones who quit in those moments and aren't resilient. And so you are a pastor. It's about having faith at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that looks different for everybody. The faith. How do you
Hmm.
have faith that look, this is my journey, and I just got to keep going for it. And why am I on this journey? What's my true purpose in life? Like, what do I want to be remembered for at the end of the day? Do I want to be remembered as the guy who quit when it
Hmm.
got really hard? Or do I want to be remembered as, wow, that person really grew through it. They overcame those obstacles. They really picked themselves up. And it was so inspiring. And then other people were able to see that and was a great example for someone else who was in the
Hmm.
same situation.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Listeners, please don't go in place. Got a couple of more questions, a bit more conversation with Stephen. But first of all, I want to ask Stephen if there are listeners out who want to know a little bit about you, maybe your podcast, or if you have a book or a website, would you tell them how they can best access you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a podcast. It's Steve Lags Unfiltered. That's available on YouTube and all the audio versions, Spotify, Apple podcasts, you name it.
Mhm.
As well, a great way to be mentored in this age is definitely is to look. So social media, don't let social media use you. Use social media and only follow people that are going to inspire you. So on Instagram, I'm very transparent with my life. You can find me at Steve A. Lags. That's my Instagram handle.
Mhm.
And I'll mute everybody that's not going to be positive, and I'm only going to follow people that are going to inspire me and I'm going to learn from. And I would recommend the listeners that's how you use social media.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Stephen. There are a couple more things I like to kind of just uh, get your thoughts on, your mind, to kind of share with listeners of this podcast. And that is, how do you approach goal setting
Okay.
and achievement? Because they are, I know some may have their thoughts on, I want to do this, I want to do that, I got this goal, but we never seem to get there. And I'm so aware of that because uh, for a long time I kind of lived in that realm.
Mhm.
I had I wanted to do this, but I wasn't quite patient enough to get to where I want to go, you know.
Mhm.
And then I had to learn that look, it's this, you know, and that will finally get me there. So maybe sometimes listeners like to hear from other folks. So would you share with how do you approach goal setting and achievement?
Yeah, great question. It's so important in life. If you don't have goals, you drift in life.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to just drift through life. You want to be able to be very intentional about where you're going. So for me, when I come up with a goal, the very first thing I want to do is visualize actually accomplishing it, because I need to be able to understand, is that really a goal or not? Or is it a nice to do? Or is it, man, I really have to have, that's a goal where
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be able, I'm paying the price for that, because there's a price for every accomplishment of every goal. Because sometimes people will set a goal, and I think myself included, it's happened where it really wasn't that important because I didn't do a good enough job of identifying with the accomplishment of it, whether it was really going to be rewarding, was it really going to change anything in my life? And then
Mm-hmm.
I never really worked for it because it didn't really inspire me. So that's the first step. And I like to visualize the accomplishment. What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What is that experience when I accomplish it? All right, good. We got a good goal. This is so exciting for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Got to make it smart, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely.
Mm-hmm.
So all those, that this is a smart goal process. So I've got to put a timetable on it. We already determined it's relevant. It's measurable. Is it measurable? Because otherwise, do I know if I attain that goal? It's attainable. All right, how's it attainable? I put up a plan together. Okay, now there's my plan, and I can attain that goal. And I got to be disciplined and follow that plan. And then my final piece of advice: tell everyone about your goal,
Mm-hmm.
because when you put it out into the world, there's a couple of things that happen. You want to think what you think is what you say, and what you say is what you do, and what you do is what you're known for. So you got to be thinking about it, talking about it, and you start doing the things. And when so now you start, your actions follow your thinking, your talking, but also when you're putting it out in the world, now your credibility is on the line because you told everybody about how important that goal is for you. And now, well, it increases your accountability. Now, oh, I don't want to let everyone down. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be looked at the guy who's just talking a lot of, you know what. Now all of a sudden, now I have a little bit more pressure on myself to accomplish that goal.
I like that. I like that, especially when you put it out in the world. Because once you put it out there, then everybody is looking at you, and you don't want to let them down. So you got to do basically what you said you want
Right.
to do to accomplish. It's awesome. I love that. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
When I hear people like, oh, I don't want to talk about my goals, I know, because you're hedging yourself right now,
I got you. I got you. I got you.
because you don't
Look,
believe that you're going to do it.
uh, amazing, amazing. You know, you're obviously great in your business and your company. Uh, and so I want to close by asking you this last question
Yeah.
because there might be some listeners who may be in business
Mhm.
and they hearing from you who've been successful will help them. So how do you maintain a strong company culture and keep your team motivated and engaged?
Yeah, that's great. So first of all, one thing you need to establish is understanding your mission of the company. What's the purpose of it? The vision, where are we going? So we have a big picture in mind, and your core values.
Mm-hmm.
And the core values need to be simple to be able to understand, and you base all your hiring, rewarding, and firing decisions based on core values. So you have complete alignment in your organization, and you have to have leaders that have energy, that are going to inspire and know how to lead and have amazing leadership in an organization. Those are the basic fundamentals, and like a 1 minute answer of like where it really begins with culture. And culture is something you have to intentionally design, and you have to continually to make sure it's like a garden. You've got to be fertilizing it and weeding it out because you want to make sure that that culture stays strong.
Mm. Well said. Well said. Stephen, it has been a pleasure having you on this podcast today. And
My
I
pleasure.
do appreciate you accepting it. And there you have it, Stephen Lagomarsino,
There we go.
who imparts valuable insights, experiences, and expertise, contributing to transformative changes in listeners' lives. We're grateful for his expertise today. And until next time, peace and blessings be with each of you.